Hello, this is Haunted Staffordshire. My name is Richard Felix, and over the past 9 years I've been leading haunted tours around Derbyshire and Staffordshire. Over these years, many people have told me stories about their ghostly occurrences, and I can assure you that they're not all cranks or nutcases or people that have had too much to drink. I promise you, people really do see ghosts. And what better place to start a tour of haunted Staffordshire than the haunted house attraction here at Alton Towers. So settle back and let me take you on a tour of Staffordshire, the darker side of Staffordshire, the place that you call home. And this is the real haunted house. This is Alton Towers. It was built for the Earl of Shrewsbury, and in the area where we are now, which has a distinctly cold feel, even though it's autumn. All sorts of strange goings on happened in these ruins. A grey lady has been seen wandering around the corridors. We're now here in the old butler's pantry. And when the security people are wanting to close up at night, they prefer to go in pairs. No one likes to be alone in Alton Towers at dusk on their own. And I'm now leaving the main building at Alton Towers and heading towards a rather interesting tunnel. It's known by the members of staff here as the Ghost Walk, and I am now entering the Ghost Walk. This is a barrel vaulted stone tunnel, and apparently members of staff see a figure entering one end, but it never exits at the other side. It either lingers in this tunnel or it disappears through the wall. Nobody knows. This tunnel also leads to a footpath which goes down to Alton village, and that leads to a rather interesting oak tree. The oak tree that's going to play a part in our next story about Alton Towers. I'm rather out of breath and approaching the Witch's Tree, just on the other side of Alton Towers. Wonderful legend that goes with this tree. Charles Talbot, the Earl of Shrewsbury, who lived at Alton Towers, was returning from a party along this trackway here in his horse and carriage. He was alone. As he approached this area here where the tree is, there was an old hag, a beggar woman, sitting beneath the tree. His coach slowed up and stopped, and she asked him for alms, for money, and he refused her and slammed the door of his coach and galloped off along the trackway here. She put a curse on him, and she said that if any of the branches were ever to fall off this tree here, that a member of the Earl's family would die. Not many weeks later, one of the large branches of this tree was hit by lightning during a tremendous thunderstorm. The tree crashed to the ground, and within days, a member of the Earl's family died. The Earl was so upset that he actually had some of his men come here with huge chains to chain up the huge boughs and branches of this tree. And as you can see, the chains are still on the tree to this day. They've actually eaten in to some of these huge branches here. And the Earl seemed to stop the curse because no more of his members of his family died under tragic circumstances. This tree, as I've said already, was known as the witch's tree, and even to this day there's a coven of witches that meet under this tree on All Hallows Eve, the night when the souls are let out of Hades, out of hell, and they have to return by first cockcrow in the morning. This is the village of Stapen Hill near Burton-on-Trent. Stapen Hill Post Office. What a strange looking building for a post office. It was once quite a large manor house, and it's haunted. It's got more than one ghost. We even know one of the ghost's name. Her name is Maud. She was the daughter of the owner of the house, and she became pregnant. She couldn't cope with it, and unfortunately she hanged herself from the banister at the top of the stairs. People have seen Maud wandering around the landing and in and out of the bedrooms. When the owner of the post office leaves, the girls don't like to be left on their own. They hear creaking noises and footsteps padding along the bedroom floor. There's also the ghost of the Blue Lady of Stapen Hill, who walks from the post office to what's called the Coffin Door. Apparently the Coffin Door, no one knows exactly where it was, but was an undertaker's shop. Who she is, we're not sure, but there is a witch, the Stapen Hill witch. Her name was Alice Goodridge. She was taken from Stapen Hill, which in those days was in Derbyshire, to the Derby jail. She was sentenced for witchcraft, and she died the night before her execution in the foul, stinking Derby jail. And they say that the ghost of Alice Goodridge still wanders around Stapen Hill. Could that be the Blue Lady that wanders around? No one knows. And the other story about the post office at Stapen Hill is that the young lady was a piano teacher, and she used to teach the piano up here in the attic rooms at the top of the building. She was in a very unhappy marriage, and they say that one day she tied a rope around this banister and threw herself off the edge and hanged herself on the stairs down here. I must be honest, it's a very warm day today, and there really is quite a chill up here in the attic. So I don't think I'm going to linger long up here. I shall wander back down these stairs. Quite a few people have actually reported seeing the ghost of Maud walking around here. And this, of course, here is more or less the area where her body would have been hanging. And now the last bit of the story of the Stapen Hill Post Office concerning the wind chimes. The building's up for sale, and when prospective buyers are shown round, if Maud doesn't like the person, she rings the chimes. When there's absolutely no draft or anything or a breeze here, if that person walks underneath here and they're not liked, the chime rings for absolutely no reason at all. Perhaps being rung by phantom hands, the hands of the poor unfortunate Maud, the ghost of Stapen Hill. And I'm standing in the middle of bustling Burton-on-Trent, outside the Queen's Hotel, the oldest hotel in the centre of Burton-on-Trent, and there's a plaque to prove it. It says the Queen's Hotel, built late 18th century on the site of a posting house, the Three Queens. First licence 1531, a long time ago. Many stories of ghosts inside this. People sense presence in the bedroom, people have been touched on the shoulder, all sorts of things, but let's go inside and have a look. And I'm now standing inside the Queen's Hotel. This is the oldest hotel in Burton-on-Trent. Its licence goes back to 1551. Many strange things have happened in this place. Of course, it stands almost on the end of Burton Bridge. 2 battles took place, one in medieval times and one during the English Civil War, so there's been a lot of death around here. But we're actually now in the Elizabeth suite. This is the bridal suite, and strange occurrences happen here of the ghostly sort. A couple staying here on the honeymoon came downstairs in the morning to compliment the management on the tidiness. They'd obviously left clothes and bedclothes strewn around the place. When they woke up in the morning, someone had been in and folded up their clothes and hung them away and tidied everything up. And they went down and told the people behind the counter about this. But of course, they said, well, we didn't send anybody up because this is the bridal suite, we don't disturb you. And of course then they realised, of course, that they'd got the door locked and there was a do not disturb sign on the other side. But of course, that ghost, that tidy ghost here of the Queen's, didn't disturb them. And we're standing on the steps of Shugborough Hall, built for the Anson family in 1693. They of course became Earls of Lichfield, home now of Patrick Lichfield. Many, many ghosts here, of course. The name Shugborough means home of goblins and witches. They haven't seen many of those, but by Jove, they've seen a few ghosts. We've got Charlotte with us here, who is, you've done all sorts of things here, haven't you, basically?
Just about, yes, but mainly based in the Mansion House.
Yeah,
and
but ghosts you know about,
I know about, but I haven't actually experienced myself.
Right.
But we've heard lots of stories over the years from various members of staff here. And particularly in the Mansion House, Lady Harriet Hamilton is a frequent visitor here. She was married to the 3rd Earl of Lichfield, Victorian times we're talking, and particularly in the bedroom upstairs, the state bedroom, members of staff and people who've worked here for long periods of time, perhaps on their own in the bedroom during the winter months when we're closed, have definitely had a sense of somebody walking behind them or touching them on the shoulder. The dressing table in the bay has some brushes and mirrors of Lady Harriet's, belonged to her and she used them. And we've seen that these have been moved around during the night. When we've opened up again the following morning, they're in a different position.
She's a poltergeist as well, then obviously she moves things.
And lots of people who visitors who immediately walk into the bedroom before a guide has said anything, they give a little shiver and they feel that there's something different about the room, or they have a sense that somebody's there.
Yeah. Cold spots,
yes,
and
that's
something.
right. Yes. What's interesting is that I don't think she's a nasty ghost. I think she just wants to come and have a look at what's happening.
I
now.
don't think most of them are.
No,
you know, most people
no.
aren't frightened either when they see them.
No.
Strangely enough.
Yes, that's right. She's she comes across. I think the other incident in the Mansion House is down in the Red Drawing Room.
Yeah.
A caretaker of ours. He was woken up by the alarms during the night and got up and went across to the Red Drawing Room, and as he opened the doors he definitely saw a figure disappearing through the wall on the other side of the room, and he was convinced it was a lady in a long dress. So we again think that may be Lady Harriet as well.
So she's all over the place.
She is rather, isn't she?
Yeah.
As I say, I think she comes back and checks on us now and again and sees what's happening to the house.
Wasn't there an incident with a medium that came here and
yes,
saw
so I
something?
gather.
Yeah.
I don't know so much about that, but yes, they've said that they felt that there was somebody who walked across the room.
Yes.
And the other interesting, and I don't know whether this is true, but the Earl's dogs will not go into the room. And apparently this is something to do
even today?
Yeah, even today, that Patrick Lichfield's dogs won't go into the bedroom.
Oh,
And
that's
this
a
is
sure
something
sign.
Is it?
Oh,
All right,
absolutely.
there
I
we
can
are.
assure you. Yeah, a sure
Yes.
sign that there are ghostly goings on.
There we are,
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. But I think she was a very nice lady. They had 9 children, so as I say, I think she just comes back and checks them. I personally haven't felt anything, but you know, lots of people have. So you tend to believe it, really.
Oh yeah, but a place like this has to have a ghost,
the
doesn't
history
it?
of it, yes.
Absolutely.
There's so much gone on here.
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's just particularly Lady Harriet.
Yeah.
that's
She
the
obviously
person
liked the
comes
place
back.
so much
She
that
must
she
have done. Yes.
she's
Okay.
still around.
Yes. Yeah.
Super. Charlotte, thanks very much.
Okay.
And now a lunch break. I'm in the old soup kitchen. Very, very old 16th century building situated in the old quarter of Stafford. And it has a ghost. It's a lady They even know her name. She's called Ethel. Hot plates turn themselves on and off in the kitchen. Plates and crockery fly around. And some of the staff have even seen her, standing at the bottom of the stairs. She passes through the hallway, and more than one member of staff have seen her. They're not sure who she is, or in fact who she was. There's no terrible tragedies happened here, but when they were excavating under the kitchen a few years ago, work had to be stopped, archaeologists were brought in, and bones were removed. So perhaps Ethel is the ghost of someone who was resting underneath the kitchen floor and has been disturbed. Who knows? But I'm going to carry on with probably the best bowl of soup I've ever had in my life. Pauline, you're pastry chef here at the soup kitchen.
I am.
You've seen her, yeah? You've seen the ghost in here?
Yes, I have. Well, I believe I have.
Yeah. A lot of people don't believe they see
No,
ghosts, you
people
know.
laugh and people... So,
Everybody does that.
So to start with, you keep it to yourself.
I know
because
you do.
Just don't know.
I know.
You don't want to sound silly.
What did she look like a person, or
Yes, but I couldn't tell you what she looked like.
no? A
It
haze,
was,
or
It was a haze, and it was like a grey haze, but it was definitely female.
yeah. And where was that?
Definitely
Sort of in this area, or
First time, just inside the door here, about 7:30 in the morning.
yeah?
And the second time, same area, but going up the stairs.
Yeah.
Round the stairs.
Same person on both occasions.
Exactly the same image, if you
Yeah.
like. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
what was your impression? I mean, what did you think?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I just sort of was aware of something there, and sort of looked, and it was just this. So I thought, no,
Haze.
it's early in the morning. You're seeing things,
Yeah.
and I went all goosebumpy.
I'm sure.
you
Yeah.
know, but not threatened. It
No,
wasn't,
no. Most of them
didn't
aren't
make
frightening,
me
you
feel
know. No.
frightened.
No. We all expect to be frightened,
Yeah,
you know. But,
that's right.
But we doubt ourselves. We don't think.
Well, I
it
mean,
was a
I
ghost.
thought just be quiet because they'll all laugh at you.
I know.
But then
Everybody
a couple
says
of
that.
others have had a similar experience
In here.
in here, same place, same area,
Yeah.
the same type of thing.
Yeah.
You know,
And it's
Yeah.
and her name's Ethel.
we call her Ethel.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to be nice to her because she's nice, really. I think.
Well, I think most ghosts are nice, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't hurt people when they were alive.
No, well,
Why
that's
should
it.
they hurt anybody when
That's
they're dead?
right. That's right. Yeah.
That is great. That is wonderful.
That's
Yes.
all right.
So, Alan, this is the interior of the old Swan Hotel. Coaching Inn, I presume, going back,
Yes.
what, 400 years?
Yes, something like that.
And in fact, this big area here is where the coachers would actually come in originally,
They would
off
indeed,
the
yes.
street
Yes.
and through to the stables.
Yes, that's right.
And there are all sorts of ghost stories here, of course. There's cold spots upstairs in the bedrooms, lights switch themselves on and off,
Yes.
and apparently there's a story of where the old ballroom is now.
Yes.
There's a story that a jilted bride actually hanged herself upstairs,
Quite true.
and they say that her ghost still wanders around the bedrooms up there. But you've got another story about this area here, haven't you?
Well, originally this area used to be what is in front of us at the moment. It used to be a reception area. And one of the night porters told me an incident. One night he left some keys on the reception counter here, and for no apparent reason they moved right across the room.
Off the counter
Off
across the
counter,
room.
Straight across the room.
Good Lord.
Exactly.
Obviously a poltergeist.
Yes,
I would
some
think,
description,
yeah.
Yes, certainly.
And it was here on this spot.
Just here. Yes, right opposite us.
Wow. And we're now standing outside the old Vine Hotel, and a very interesting sign here on the wall, the history of the Vine Hotel. How dull the history of England would be without its inns, taverns and hotels. They were the haunts of many local characters, or was it just a place to meet friends? To mention a couple of Stafford characters who used the Vine Hotel, one was a basket maker named Bullock, who used to sleep in a coffin when things got him down until he felt better. And the other one, the notorious Dr. William Palmer, the Ruseley poisoner, known as the Prince of Poisoners. He used to drink here. and on many occasions staff in the bar area have said that they sensed a presence in here. Nobody's seen him, and we don't really know whether it's the ghost of Dr. William Palmer or not. I'll leave that up to you. And I'm now standing outside Her Majesty's Prison, Stafford. All the public executions in Staffordshire took place in front of this building. Stafford was the assize town, and so any crime committed in any part of Staffordshire, if you were caught, you were brought here to Stafford and executed in front of the jail. Dr. William Palmer was executed in front of this jail in 1856. 30,000 people turned up to watch him hang. Probably the most prominent feature on the Stafford skyline for hundreds of years is this building behind me, the ancient High House, built in 1595, and it fell into disrepair and ruin. In 1985 it was taken over by Staffordshire County Council and refurbished. They've obviously disturbed ghosts because it's quite a haunted building. The top floor is probably the most notorious bit, where oak doors, heavy oak doors, open and close on their own. One day a member of staff up there saw one of the doors opening and saw the large dark figure of a man standing in the doorway. It suddenly disappeared. She looked round and realised that she was on her own. There was no one else upstairs. On the next floor down, the Victorian part of the building, a lady has been seen wearing a Victorian costume, sitting in a rocking chair, rocking backwards and forwards. And a little girl, also in Victorian costume, has been seen up there as well. And there's always a cold spot in the area where the little girl's been seen. Probably the best, the mass sighting of ghosts, was when a group of American visitors came to the house and were shown round by what they believed to be a member of staff here at the building. They were shown all over the building, and then they left. They came back the next day to see that the house was nothing but a decrepit wreck. No one was in it, it was empty. Later on, they saw a photograph of a William Mason who owned shops in the High House in the 1890s. When they saw the picture, they realised that William Mason and their guide was one and the same. And this is Chartley Manor in deepest Staffordshire. Very old timber framed building, goes back to 1435. Mary Queen of Scots was imprisoned at Tutbury for a long time, but also at Chartley. Not at this place, unfortunately, but across the road at Chartley Hall. All that can be seen now are the remains, strangely enough, of Chartley Castle. Mary was taken from Chartley to Fotheringay to be executed. She was executed by a gentleman called Simon Bull. It took him 3 blows of his axe to sever Mary's head. After the first blow, the axe bit into the back of her head. He pulled out the axe and she turned towards him, uttering the words, "Sweet Jesus." He beckoned her to put her head back on the block, and he took the second blow. He then had to take his pocket knife to sever the last sinews of Mary's neck. He picked up the head, held it aloft, and shouted the words, "So perish all enemies of Elizabeth." And the head dropped out of the red wig that Mary was wearing and bounced across the floor of the scaffold. And the lips of the skull continued to quiver for 1/4 of an hour after the execution. And so ended the life of the tragic Mary Stuart, who stayed here at Chartley. And here we are inside Chartley Manor. Mary Queen of Scots, of course, stayed at Chartley, but unfortunately we don't think it was this place that we're in now, is it, Jeremy?
No, we're in the home farm here at Chartley Manor.
Yeah.
But she stayed in the castle just down the road. So
literally across the road, isn't it?
Across the road. No, we're opposite it. Chartley Castle.
Yeah.
It was built in 1215 for the Ferrers family. And we do bed and breakfast here, and we've had 1 or 2 experiences of the ghost.
Really? How old's this place?
This is 1435. This is
Good Lord.
This part of the house is, yes, the original part.
Yeah.
And we've had later extensions. We've got the new bit, 1600. That's the new bit.
That's the new bit.
That's the new bit,
Oh,
1600. And we've had several couples here who've had one or two experiences. They've just
ghostly experiences.
Ghostly experiences. Yes, woke up very cold. One girl did on the one side of the bed.
Yes.
Very cold, shivering, and didn't know what to do, and said, "Look, what's happening?" And woke her husband. And then he said, "Well, for God's sake, I'm all right, but change sides."
Yeah.
And then the rest of the night he stayed awake. He was shivering. He didn't tell his wife. She went straight to sleep, sound as a...
Gosh.
And nothing happened. And next morning they came down. Wonderful, they said. It was a lovely night. Thank you very much. And they asked my son to take a picture of them outside the house.
Yes.
And every window in the house was clear except this window. There was a face in the window.
This
window
here.
They were standing below there, and the face at the window. They couldn't believe it. Every house in the window was window in the house was clear. And they rang us from Australia about a fortnight later and began to say, "Look, have you told people about this?" And I said, "Oh yes, we've got the ghost, yes." And he said, "Oh well, I'll send you the photograph." And I thought it'd be good publicity, but
Too right.
he hasn't sent it yet. But,
Oh, that's a shame.
But this is it happens here, and I think that obviously people like that sort of thing. With,
Yeah.
To
Well, of
experience.
course, when you think how old it is, how many people have lived and died
Right.
in this room, and of course in the whole house, then
Yes.
then it's
Even
obvious.
the farmer who was here before. My grandfather came here with generation.
Really?
And the farmer, he had 3 wives, but I don't know quite where they, if they were their sad demise here.
You never know.
No, I think that a lot of in 500 years, 600 years, things have gone on.
Yeah, and obviously that's why things can be probably impregnated into the panelling even.
Yes.
Yeah.
The stories and
Right, chaps, we're outside the Dog and Partridge. This is certainly the oldest building in Tutbury. It goes back to the 1300s. Was built for the Curzons of Kedliston, and it's got lots and lots of ghosts in it. There's a ghost called Grace. That the story is that she was actually pushed out of the bedroom window and broke her neck on the pavement down here. They see her wandering around here and in the bedrooms. They've got a little girl wearing a mob cap that walks around the bedrooms bouncing a ball. And only a few months ago, a chap delivering venison to the Dog and Partridge, because it is a particularly fine restaurant in there, parked his van outside, went into the pub and complained to the manager that it's about time they got some new costumes for the staff, because one of the girls that was standing at the window really did look rather scruffy. And they said, what do you mean, girl at the window? He said, well, standing at the bedroom window upstairs was this little girl looking out the window wearing a mob cap, but she looked rather scruffy. And they all looked around and said, well, there isn't anybody upstairs at all. And of course they went up to the bedroom, and it was bedroom number 3, which of course was one of the haunted bedrooms. And this chap must have seen the ghost of the little girl, because they didn't have a cleaner up there, scruffy one, wearing a mob cap. But and the other amazing thing about this place is that they used to have they used to have bull baiting here. And they had a bull ring across the road in front of the Dog and Partridge, and they used to chase bulls round the streets of Tutbury. And to make them more angry, they used to knock the horns off, fill their nostrils with wax, and put pepper in their eyes to make them more, if they weren't angry enough. They used to chase them around the streets and then drive them into the bull ring, where of course they were slaughtered in true Spanish matador style. I mean, how many folks realise that there was a bull ring here at Tutbury? Anyway, we'll go on to the top of the hill here. The Tutbury Castle. The name Tutbury comes from a name Totterbury, and it belonged to a Saxon person called Totter, and it means fortified place of the person called Totter. So it became Tutbury over the years. From 1089, there was a Benedictine priory here. This was the priory church, and the only bit that's left of the priory is if you look to the top of the hill there, and can you see a sort of a large chimney? That is the chimney from the bakehouse of the original priory. There is a story, a ghost story, of a line of... Now what you have to do to get the full effect of this story is to stand with your backs to this doorway here. So if you can all come over here, backs to the door please. Yeah. This, by the way, is one of the most fantastic archways you'll ever see. This is Norman architecture at its best. And the story is that people standing at night with their backs to the door of the church can see a line of monks, of Benedictine monks, coming from the old priory which was up there, along this graveyard, along a sunken pathway, and coming down here and disappearing. Now, can you see anything? No? That's a shame. Can you imagine now if that door suddenly opened behind you? Yeah. Now there is another story of a group of children. There was a wedding here a few years ago, and there were lots of people taking photographs of the wedding, and someone took not a proper photograph, but just an ordinary one with a camera, and when it was developed, sitting on that stone wall there were 6 Victorian children behind the wedding group. There were no children. There were no children dressed in Victorian costume at that wedding, and that photograph is still preserved to this day. Now I don't know. Is there somebody around there with a camera? No. Is there somebody there with a camera? I don't like this. Shall we get out of here? I don't like. There's nobody there. Come on, I'm going. And there's your here's your first glimpse of Tutbury Castle. Look, lit up specially for you. Honest to God, that is lit up. That's illuminated tonight for you.
Look at her. Where are you going? God, you're being filmed. I'm scared.
This site here with the cross and of course the wicker stuff here is the site of the last burning to death of a witch to take place in this country. Now, as you know from the walks and things, that we didn't burn witches in England, we hanged them. The Scots burnt witches. But if you could prove that was heresy as well as witchcraft, that is to do with religion, then you could be burnt at the stake. And this poor girl here was burnt on this spot, and they say it was the last witch to be burnt in this country. Oh, it's a new cross, but they've done the research, they've just found it, and they've now put this cross here to mark the site. We're going on now. This is obviously you're now approaching Tutbury Castle. The death and destruction that took place here, the number of sieges that took place here, and the number of people that died from either disease or from battle is one of the reasons that this castle is as haunted as it is. We're approaching the gateway now, which is called John of Gaunt's Gateway. The most famous person to go through this gateway, on horseback, was Mary Queen of Scots. This was Mary Queen of Scots' most hated prison. Now, this is called John of Gaunt's Gateway, and the reason it's got that name is obviously because John of Gaunt had it built, or they say he did. There's a rather interesting ghost story to do with the gate. In a minute, yeah. When they reopened this place, a new custodian, Leslie Smith, took over the building, and they have craft fairs and various things here. And a young gentleman and his wife were coming to a craft fair here. They came to the gates and were accosted by a figure in armour with a sword, who screamed at them in this horrible voice, shouting at them, "Get over the fence!" which bothered them, to say the least. It upset them so much that they actually went to the custodian and complained about the way they'd been treated by the reenactor that was at the gates. And they were told by the custodian that it was a craft fair that day. There were no reenactors in the castle. And apparently what they saw was the ghost of the gatekeeper, the person that was actually in charge of who went in and who went out. And the words were actually Old English. They weren't "get over the fence" at all. They were "get thee hence." In other words, "come thee through." Different language in Old English. And they say that the ghost of the gatekeeper still haunts John of Gaunt's Gateway to this day. I'm sure you'll be allowed to in a minute. Quite sure of that, girls. Yeah. But can you see that incredible tower up here? Look, Jesus Christ Almighty!
Stupid man.
Now, anybody still need the toilet?
Yes!
Or is it too late?
Even more than before.
This is the remains of the old medieval church, or the chapel here. And when they were doing an archaeological dig here, they found all sorts of items and artefacts. And the custodian at the time actually came down one evening and he actually went amongst the ruins and found a Tudor ring. And he kept it. He took it back to his house and he lived in this tower here. About 3:30 in the morning, there was a loud hammering on the door. He came down and opened up the door, and of course there was no one there. This happened on 3 successive occasions where he was brought downstairs in the middle of the night to answer the door and there was no one there. And on the 4th night he couldn't stand it anymore. He took the ring back and buried it somewhere here in the mortar of this building. It's never happened again. So if you've got your metal detectors on you, girls and boys, you could have a look for the ring. But I would leave it where it was if I was you. And these are the ruins of Tutbury Castle. Still belongs to the Duchy of Lancaster to this day. And in between these 2 towers was the area where Mary Queen of Scots stayed in a timber-framed house. A few months ago, on one of the Tutbury Ghost walks, I was in one of the pubs and a lady came up to me, she wasn't on the walk, and told us of a story of her son. When he was 13 years of age, he did a dare here at Tutbury Castle and he stayed the night in that tower with a sleeping bag. About 3:30 he woke up and went to one of the slits in the windows, peered out, and he saw a lady dressed in white gliding across the grass in the area where Mary Queen of Scots' apartments were. He said she looked exactly like all the paintings that he'd ever seen of Mary Queen of Scots. She told us that he'd now reached the age of 52 and was a lieutenant colonel in the Royal Marines. And she said he was really not the sort of person to make up silly ghost stories. If I could ask you to extinguish all cigarettes and switch all portable phones off as well. Because I don't know, we're taking you up to the haunted rooms, and to be quite honest with you, it does have an effect up there. As we go through this door, you'll see an opening and an archway, which was a secret staircase that was actually found about 18 months ago when they pulled out an old airing cupboard that was there and they found the staircase. This is the original, the main door. And this is the secret staircase that was found recently. Rather steep. Up we go into the great hall of Tutbury Castle. This is the great hall of Tutbury Castle, and King Charles I stayed here. Tutbury Castle was the last stronghold to hold out against Oliver Cromwell and was laid siege to by Cromwell's soldiers. A lot of disease took place, an awful lot of people died. Showed you earlier there's 300 people buried outside. What normally happens in here, you can see behind you the costume of Mary Queen of Scots. This was Mary's most hated prison. She was here on 2 occasions and she really did despise the place. You're not going to get anything spooky looking in there, and in fact it's draped, or last time I said it's draped with sort of curtains like for weddings, so it's not even spooky looking.
Sure, nobody's going to jump.
No, there is nothing going to happen to you, I promise you.
Well, we'll go second then.
Yeah, you go second and listen to the screams. I mean, I don't mean that. I mean, so let me take you in.
We're not going.
See, it's not in the slightest bit scary. No, if you want to check the building before you actually...
All these curtains are here.
That's because it's displays for weddings. Is that the lot?
Yeah, shut the
Right.
door.
This is the first time I've done. Now all I ask is that you, without being funny, you stand still, and there's no send up with this. This is real, and it does happen. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the light out, And the blue light has been seen over there, and there isn't anything. There's nothing there. There's no fly catchers or fly killers or anything like that. And this pillar, this dark pillar, seems to rise from this area here. And people have seen it. I haven't seen it. All I ask is that I put the lights out, that you stand still. Try not to touch each other up or anything like that, because at the end of the day, let's just see if anything does happen. I'm going to put the lights out, and if anybody says, shout, put the light on, then I will, obviously. It will, and you've got to just. Oh, it doesn't quite the same with Steve there. Now, just stand very still, and after a few seconds, now put out your left arm and see if you can actually sense the temperature dropping. In fact, I can't sense a thing. In fact, my left arm is actually warm, and I can't feel any. You can put your right arm out. Change. Put your right arm out instead. And just keep your arm out and see if you sense the temperature dropping. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. We have honestly had a gentleman collapse, and we've had other people that couldn't breathe and have actually had to come out of this room. But of course, normally, sense something happening. It depends on the person as well, Very much. Some people can be susceptible of it. Really? Turn your hand the other way and see if it stops it. It's as if the cold's rising. Not a lot. I promised you nothing would happen, but I must be honest, of course, with the camera being on, it gives a totally different, because you've not got, it is pitch black in here. Of course you can. Yeah. Are you going to film the same again, see if anything happens? Yeah. Well, I tell you what, we'll bring you back in. Well, you stay here, but we'll do it again without the camera in a minute. See what happens. Next unsuspecting group. You see their pale faces when he came out.
Keep your hands between your legs.
So it's not a spooky room or anything like that.
Well,
Stand in the middle. No, it's Stevie. You the last. Right. Sorry. Right, all that's going to happen is it's not even a spooky room. There is a difference, of course, because obviously Steve's got the camera on, and you don't get the pitch black that you get normally. Well, he's filming in case something does actually happen. That's why, you see. But what I'm going to put the light out. Over here, sometimes when it is really pitch black, there is a sort of a tower of darkness that actually tends to rise. Sometimes a blue light's been seen up there, but the thing is, when you put your hand out, there's no windows in here. Sometimes when you put your hand out and leave it out, you get pins and needles, and you can sense the temperature dropping around your fingers. Nothing is going to happen. You hear them scream, nothing's going to happen. There's no window in here at all. No. And there's no drafty, well, there probably are drafty floorboards, but there's a carpet over it. So just see what happens. Just try it while I put the light out. Very dark, isn't it? It wasn't last time, but it's very dark this time. Now, just put out either your right or your left hand. Stare into that corner just to see, because it actually, if it's possible, it does get darker. And people can sometimes sense this sort of dark pillar. But just tell me if you feel any drop in the temperature around your fingers. I can sense it more this time than last time. All right. I mean, I must admit, if you keep your hand out long enough, then obviously you would. I mean, change hands. You would, of course, get pins and needles in your fingers. That's something else. But there's a distinct drop in the temperature. Where? Well, there is no, when I put the light on, there isn't a light in here, I promise you.
Yeah, I saw it there. It was like a light. Yeah.
I can't see
It's gone
anything.
Down there. You know when I felt your hand and I looked again, it had gone, but it was there.
Well, normally, I must be honest, the light's normally seen around this area here.
It was there.
And here, and there isn't, I mean, honestly, there is nothing.
No, it was there.
And some people see a tower
It was there.
of sort of
It wasn't a
darkness
tower.
rising from here.
But it was about there. You know, like yeah, there was a light. I was
Whoa.
witness
Well,
type thing.
things happen to people in this room, and I really, you notice we didn't do anything to make you jump. There's nothing like that.
No.
Things really happen.
No, but you're right. I think we're saying that because you
No, I don't.
told us.
No,
But honestly,
no,
I
no, I don't.
swear
I've had a
on
chap
my
collapse in
husband's
here.
life, I
Had a
saw-
big burly chap faint in here.
No, I didn't feel it.
Honestly.
Well, you
And-
will.
Can we do
I'll
it?
put it again, out again for a minute, see what happens. Yeah, sorry. Right. If you get worried or if anything does happen, I'm not kidding, because people can be affected by these things. Shout, we'll put the light on. Anything? See, the other thing you must remember is that these things don't happen to order. You see it once, you don't. It's not always going to happen to you again. Any drop in temperature? Really? Normally it seems to come from down below upwards. Otherwise, turn your hand over and see what happens. You see, ghostly occurrences are very much attributed to drops in temperature because it's energy. And really, I think it's time to put the light on. Right. There you are. Yeah, of course I will. See what happens. Yeah.